When you hear the word Halo, what's the first thing you think of? Is it the legendary Master Chief and his iconic green armor? Maybe it's one of the many weapons that have taken out thousands of players in Covenant alike. Or maybe it's the music that has stuck with you since you first heard that incredible theme. Whatever it is, it all began with one monumental title that launched a franchise that's still standing 20 years later. That title, of course, being Halo Combat Evolved. This game changed everything for everyone. I think it's safe to say that it changed everyone that played it as well, with its revolutionary gameplay, and even now, a whopping 23 years later, it is still one of the greatest FPS games of all time, and that's not going to change anytime soon. But you might be wondering, Ripley, you've said all this in your other Halo video, why are you making another one? And the answer is really simple. You see, recently, the current developers of Halo, 343 Industries, has completely changed their whole process and even rebranded to Halo Studios. And in this new push to make great Halo games again, they are looking back to what worked in the past with a very heavily rumored Halo CE remake. So, like them, I thought it was the perfect time to go back and look at the series and see what worked and such. Also, that video sucks. And the mixing is really bad, and I could do better because this game deserves better. So, if you will join me, I'd love to tell you just once more how wonderful this game is even today, and why you should play it. If you actually have played this game before, let's reminisce and talk about what you love about this game in the comments below. I loved reading your stories in the Fall of Cybertron video and want more of that, so give them, I love them. One last thing, I will not be looking at this game objectively at all. These are all my opinions, and I couldn't cover these games objectively if I tried. They mean way too much to me. All that being said, let's get this intro over with and begin our look at Halo Combat Evolved. So, let's talk a bit about the gameplay to start things off. Back in 2001, an FPS game on consoles wasn't unheard of, but it definitely wasn't the optimal hardware to launch on. The FPS genre had long made their home on the PCs with games like Doom, Half-Life, and Wolfenstein. So, when Bungie was pivoting their once RTS game to third person and then finally to the first-person perspective, they had a bit of a challenge in front of them to make the now Xbox exclusive feel good to play on a controller. So, they came up with this. The left stick would move your feet and the right stick would move your head. That's it. Okay, it's a big simplification of what they actually did with look smoothing and stuff like that, but everyone and their mother loves to talk about the one thing that completely changed console gaming. But you see, it's not just the controls that were pretty revolutionary for this time period. It was only part of the things that makes this game unique. Another part was how they handled weapons, more so how many you can carry. At this point, the FPS games were all about juggling 9 different types of weapons with the objective of killing everything that moves. Halo, however, gives you 2. I think this was kind of glossed over and not really given the time of day when discussing what makes this game revolutionary these days, as every FPS game more or less adapts the 2-weapon structure, with, some exceptions, of course. However, one thing that not every FPS game adapts is every weapon has a purpose, and when used right, can be viable on any difficulty. The last bit, not even the future games could keep up in this series, but we'll talk about that when I get to the other games in the franchise. This is a retrospective series after all. As I was saying though, each weapon more or less has a purpose, and if you can learn to use them correctly, you can kill anything. Example. There's an elite ahead of you with full shields. On your person, you have an assault rifle with half a mag and a magnum. Around the elite is a grunt carrying a plasma pistol. What do? Simple. Using the assault rifle that's good for unshielded enemies, you run up and take out the grunt. Then, you pick up an overcharged plasma pistol, which, when done, can take out an elite shield in one shot. Then, when done, you swap over to your magnum and take the elite out with a single headshot. You see the idea? Each weapon was used with their strengths in mind. And with a wide variety of weapons to choose from, there are more situations you can encounter. And just like Master Chief, eventually you'll be able to pick up any weapon and wreck house with it. However, something that makes each little micro decision you make fun and interesting is the enemy AI. You see, unlike most FPS games at this time, these enemies are intelligent. You throw a grenade, they will dodge out of the way. What, are you low on health and a little too close? They'll rush at you and melee you to take you out. Each enemy type has a behavior that, while sometimes unpredictable in a good way, they are never unfair. They react to your decisions, your successes and failures, and it's damn good fun. But why stop there? There's some things that you can add to this sandbox to make it better. And Bungie thought of that too, which is where we enter the vehicles. That's right, this game has vehicles, and it's some of the best vehicle combat in FPS gaming. The controls for the vehicles are admittedly hard to get used to if you are more accustomed to modern vehicle controls, as the left stick controls the acceleration and the right stick controls the steering. But once you do get used to it, it's a damn fun time. You get everything from tanks to LMG gun-equipped jeeps, and that's not even talking about the Covenant vehicles, which are wonderfully unique looking. Which, you know, speaking of looks, when it comes to visual design, no one does it like Halo Combat Evolved. While it absolutely wears its inspirations on its sleeve, which completely explains why I adore both Aliens and Halo, it makes everything look unique and exactly as it should. From the industrial militaristic look of the UNSC ships and weapons to the alien and foreign structures of the Forerunners, it's both familiar and immensely unknown when it should be, and I think it's remarkable that even 2 decades later, it looks as good as it does. Sure, it doesn't look modern, but the style is so damn amazing and carries the dated models and textures in my opinion. If any of you that are watching are indie game devs, remember that if your style is good enough, it can single-handedly carry your game's visuals. And that's exactly the case here. But getting back on track, talking about, something that actually did age gracefully, as in not at all, is the soundtrack, dude. While our political beliefs couldn't be more different, I cannot deny that Marty O'Donnell made a goddamn masterpiece with Michael Salvatore, and you will hear many of these tracks in the background of this video. But I don't think there's a single person that likes video games and hasn't heard at least one track from this series, and it just keeps getting better with each game. I mean, what can I say? Good music makes you feel something, and this music makes me feel so much. If you haven't done it yet, go out and listen to the soundtrack. It is so worth it. All of these things, however, are only pieces of the bigger picture. That is this game. And now we talk about what is the biggest piece, the campaign. I think it's very fitting that the first thing that we see in this franchise is the actual Halo ring floating in space before the Pillar of Autumn makes its entrance. And of course, we get our first bit of world building. The Pillar of Autumn had just made a blind jump to get away from the alien armada known as the Covenant, but due to their ship's tech being way faster than ours, they found the Pillar quickly. I think I should immediately mention something. The story in this game is really good because everything you need to know for this story is in the game. Sure, there are books that you can read that sets up the Chief's origin and the fall of Reach and stuff like that, but what kind of nerd reads books based off of video games? That's like ultra virgin actions.
What?
However, just gonna say this now, this very much ends after Bungie leaves the franchise, but, and I'm a broken record here, we will get to that whenever we cover the later games. Anyway, Captain Keyes makes the executive decision to get everyone to their stations and get ready for a fight, including a very special someone, the last Spartan, and our player character, the Master Chief. He's awakened out of cryosleep, and we are thrusted behind that iconic gold visor. The game takes a little bit to show you the movement and look controls, which is a little unnecessary these days, but of course, back then it boasted a new way of controlling your character, so it makes sense that it exists with that context. Plus, it shows you how the health and shield system works in the game. But it gets cut short as the Covenant storms into the observation station above us, killing an ally. We then rush to Keyes, getting small glimpses of the alien attackers before we actually get there. Once we do, however, Captain Keyes gives us our objective and sets up the stakes. We need to get Cortana off this ship and away from the enemy, as if they get their three-fingered hands on her, they will learn everything. Our military strategies, technology, and most importantly, the location of Earth. She's then inserted into her helmet and establishes that even though Chief is absolutely a man of few words, not saying a single word during gameplay actually, Cortana is the opposite, adopting the role of our guide, establishing lore and saying some things that we might not have thought of, and it never feels really forced. After getting handed a Magnum from Keys, we move our way through the level, which honestly sticks out amongst the other levels of the game. Not in a bad way. You see, this is structured like a modern, more generic FPS game with claustrophobic corridors and a lot of cover, which is not at all how the rest of the game is, besides a couple of errors in select levels. But once you've had enough encounters to get you used to how the game plays, the level is over right before it starts to get repetitive. Something later levels might miss, but we'll get to that later. Ooh, broken record. Chief hops into an escape pod as we see Keys direct a manual landing on the ring. The music ramps up as we fade to white as our pod approaches the ring's surface. When we begin, the second level, aptly titled Halo. When we land, we are alone, as the rest of the crew died in the crash. The environment is calm and incredibly atmospheric. It almost looks like home, yet the strange metal bridge to the left makes you remember that this is something completely different. Well, that and the ring's surface able to be seen in the sky. Upon exploring a bit of the ring, you stumble upon a friendly platoon of soldiers, including one Sergeant Johnson, the best character in the whole damn trilogy. He was seen in the opening of the game as well, and accompanies you on certain missions throughout the game, where he can in fact die in each one, even though he comes back each time. What the fuck? You stand with the Marines as the Covenant comes down in waves to kill your ass. After wiping them out, though, a Pelican comes down to drop a Warthog for you to drive around. After that, we come upon a strange structure made of the same metal from the bridges, as Cortana says her 2 cents.
This cave is not a natural formation. Someone built it, so it must lead somewhere.
Believe it or not, that's actually one of the most iconic lines in the entire trilogy. The rest of the level involves rescuing 3 groups of Marines and exploring these Forerunner structures. While boiling the level down to just your objective sounds really basic, the absolute star is the wide open arenas to kill aliens in, and like these huge rocks, or this hill, or this strange, this thing. I know I've said it before, but God, this game looks good. Anyway, after rescuing the last group of Marines, or first group if you're a speedrunner who kills the other groups, you get info that Captain Keyes is alive, but captured by the Covenant on their ship called the Truth and Reconciliation, which, like, goddamn, dude, that is such a good name. Which is very much a custom in this game series to have badass names for the Covenant ships. Anyway, the third level sees you rescuing Keyes from the Covenant, starting you off in these mountains with a sniper rifle. This mission is sort of a covert mission, but since they didn't actually code stealth mechanics in the game, it's not really much of a stealth mission. Besides that, though, the sniper rifle has such good sound design because it sounds really punchy. It's also nice to have a hit-scan sniper rifle in a game because I suck with bullet trajectories. Honestly, though, I think that every weapon sounds just about perfect in this game. Punchy when they need to be, pellety when they should be. Is that even a word? Pellety? What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. Everything goes pretty smoothly until eventually you find the grav lift that's going to get you into the ship itself. A couple waves of enemies come down to stop you, and when all else fails, you encounter your first group of hunters. Heavily armored combatants that will mess your day up if you aren't careful, but they have one weakness. They're exposed back, so this is what you do.
Where are your guys? I'm not sticking around.
Yep, that's it. As long as you have a Magnum or a sniper rifle and a pretty decent reflexes, they aren't really a problem at all. After handling them, though, you finally enter the ship and get a first-hand look at the Covenant's interior design, which is, of course, amazing, just like everything else design-wise in this game. Deep purples and moody lighting really sell the vibes of an organized alien armada hell-bent on their religious goals. Fighting through the Covenant ship is a blast, too. Nothing matches the feeling of sending the Covenant back crying on their home turf. Eventually, though, you find Keyes, and we are explained through some decent exposition some facts about Halo.
While the Covenant had us locked up in here, I overheard the guards talking about this ring world. They call it Halo.
One moment, sir. Accessing the Covenant BattleNet. According to the data in their networks, the ring has some kind of deep religious significance. If I'm analyzing this correctly, they believe that Halo is some kind of weapon, one with vast, unimaginable power.
Then it's true. The Covenant kept saying that whoever controls Halo controls the fate of the universe.
We fight our way back to the hangar, and Keyes flies us out of here on a Covenant ship. Wait a sec, how did he know how to do that? And how did he learn the Sangheili language? Did they cover that in boot camp? Hey, Halo Studios! You need to make a game where Keyes disguises himself as an elite and goes to elite school and learns their language and how to pilot their ships. You'll basically be printing money then. I'll be expecting an email that I got hired by the end of the week, thanks. Anyway, The next level is probably the best level in the game, so get ready. Silent Cartographer opens with a bombastic storming of a beach on the map's location. This level has got it all. A fantastic opening, a power trip as humanity's last hope, vehicle sections, exploration of more Forerunner structures. It's everything this game does well. The point of the mission is to get to this map room, so that way you can find the control room of Halo and stop the Covenant from actually using it. But another cool thing that this level actually does in the gameplay is that it has a non-linear structure. Normally, when you get to the entrance of the Cartographer, the door locks, and you have to make a trip down to a different area of the island just to unlock the door. However, if you've played this game before, you can just go down to that place first and skip the locking scene. It's the little moments of non-linearity that sets this game apart from even its later titles in the series. Hell, to be honest, you only have 3 or 4 levels that are truly non-linear in the series, which is crazy considering how well they did it in this game with no kill timers and little invisible walls. It's just a nice breath of fresh air, you know? God, I love this game. Anyway, not much story thing happens. You retrieve the map and then you get on a Pelican and start the next level. That's really it. Assault on the control room is a completely different environment from what we've seen with snow covering the entire battlefield. This is probably the first true vehicle level, starring the Scorpion tank, and I'm gonna be honest with you, it isn't as cool as it is in the later games. There's no LMG on it, and our teammates die really quickly when riding on the treads, and with the slow movement and multiple raids and turrets, it can just be really frustrating. So I kinda just leave the tank for the Warthog as soon as I can. That being said, I still really enjoy parts of this level, and admire Bungie for continuously changing things up and introducing new things even halfway through the campaign. Also, if you are fast enough, you can steal a Banshee and just skip the last chunk of this level, which is really fun. However, things don't stay fun in the story because as we enter the control room and have Cortana interface with the ring itself, her initial reaction of awe and wonder turns to dread.
Horrible, and now they're afraid.
Something buried? Where?
The captain, we've got to stop the captain.
Keys? What
The
do we...
weapons cache he's looking for, it's not really... We can't let him get inside.
I don't understand.
There's no time. Get out of here, find keys, stop him. Before it's too late!
Just a heads up, if you haven't played this game before, skip to this time code to skip the rest of the story. It contains a super good twist, and I do not want to take that away from you if you haven't played before. But if you have, then let's relive this moment together. Thus begins the twist. We start 343 Guilty Spark in a swamp. There are no friendlies and only grunts and jackals on edge, rushing around, seemingly afraid of something. And you just got here, so there's no way it's you. We come upon a opening to a Forerunner structure, but unlike usual, there's no one guarding it. No friendlies, no enemies. Where is everyone? As you go deeper, you see more and more disturbing things, like a hallway covered in blood. Strangely enough, you do find both human and elite blood around the place, but no bodies, and the only living Marine you actually do find, well...
Stay back! Stay back! You're not turning me into one of those things! I'll blow your brains out! Get away from me! Gah!
Rest in peace, soldier. It all culminates with you finding a room and a helmet. Maybe now with this playback, we will see what happened.
Which is weird, right? I mean, look at it. Something scrambled the insides.
What's that? Plasma scoring?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there was an accident, you know, friendly fire or something?
What do we have, Sergeant?
Looks like a Covenant patrol. Badass elite units. All KIA.
Real pretty. Friend of yours?
Nah, we just met.
Right, well, let's get this door open.
I'll try, sir. But it looks like these Covenant worked pretty hard to lock it down.
Just do it, son.
Yes, sir. Got a bad feeling about this.
Boy, you always got a bad feeling about something.
Sarge, can you hear me?
What's going on, soldier?
He's got contact, lots of them, but they're not Covenant. They're just tearing through us. What the? Oh no!
Corporal, do you copy? Over. Mendoza, get your ass back up to second squad's position and find out what the hell is going on.
But-
I don't have time for your lip, soldier. I gave you an order.
Sarge, listen.
What is that? Where's that coming from,
Everywhere.
Mendoza?
I don't. There! Mira! Hold still! Hold still!
Let him have it.
Ah!
Sergeant, we're surrounded. God damn it, Jenkins! Fire your weapon!
There are too many,
Don't
Sarge!
even think about it, Marine.
Oh, this is local!
Back here, Marine. That's an order. Jenkins!
What the fuck? Before we can even take in what happened, what we just saw, we are swarmed by those things in the video, all before more human-looking creatures swarm us. And then it hits us. The reason there aren't our human or elite bodies, it's because it became those. This is the Flood. We scramble to the surface, fighting swarm after swarm, and you quickly learn to keep the shotgun handy.
For close encounters.
I heard that.
All of this horror is made even better with the fact that Cortana, the voice that's been in your head the entire game, isn't here this time. You truly are alone against the parasitic threat. Upon getting to the surface, however, you are met with a squad of Marines saying how they encountered more Flood outside, and you move with them to try and get the hell out of there. All before meeting the Monitor, and the level's namesake, 343 Guilty Spark. He explains how the Flood is basically the worst threat to, like, everything, ever, and says how the ring's purpose is to kill the Flood. Before we can ask any questions, though, he teleports us to get the activation index in the library, which is where my problems with this game start. Library fucking sucks, dude. It's way too long. Nothing interesting happens in it. It all looks the same. There are just too many things to kill. I have nothing to really say about this level. And while playing on normal difficulty, it's still just a drag and downright infuriating. I'm not gonna lie. I just skipped this level. You're not missing much, and if you've beaten on a legendary, you have my respect. One thing you really start to notice after their introduction is honestly how the Flood is an amazing part of the story, but they just miss the mark in gameplay. They aren't a finely tuned force to be reckoned with while being fair and having multiple ways to beat them. No, they are bullet-spongy menaces, and Bungie makes them worse by handing them rocket launchers and shotguns. You gave the space zombies missiles and shotguns! The rocket launcher Flood in particular makes the library and Two Betrayals just a nightmare to get through at some points. Two Betrayals begins with us ready to use the index on the ring before Cortana stops us and calls us stupid for even trying to light the ring. Because what the ring does isn't kill the Flood, it kills their food, which is everything. We are talking about a genocide on galactic levels. So obviously, we aren't about that shit and rush to overload the reactors, which is so much easier said than done. Like, holy shit, dude. I don't think I like this level at all anymore because it was just so difficult to get through, to the point where I had to take a break and try it later in the day. Anyway, we get the reactors overloaded before Cortana picks up the faint life signature belonging to Captain Keyes, and he's back in the Truth and Reconciliation. Yeah, so it's pretty obvious that the last three levels are just the first levels, but backwards, and it's something that I really wish was different, as the second half of this game is just a drag. But, alas, it is not. Anyway, Cortana teleports us to the ship with a conveniently timed discovery of a teleportation grid. We see just how devastating the Flood is to the Covenant as the ship is falling apart actively as we are running through it. We get to where the life signal is after a grueling fight and discover a grim sight.
No human life signs detected. The captain, he's one of them. We can't let the Flood get off this ring. You know what he'd expect. What he'd want us to do. It's done. I have the code. We should go.
The captain is dead, as well as basically all of our allies. So we only have one thing left to do. We need to head to the Pillar of Autumn to destroy the ring. The final level is titled The Maw, and is, of course, just the Pillar of Autumn, but with more destroyed looks. And we head to different locations than we did in the first level. But first off, we need to make it to the captain's deck. That way, Cortana can interface with the devices to see if she can't use the ship to blow a hole in the ring. Which, luckily, we can. All we have to do is destroy the ship's reactors. However, due to our refusal to light the ring, 343 now sees us as a threat, and will do anything to stop us from destroying the one thing he's assigned to protect. But, you know, main character powers. And, with the toss of a few grenades and a couple missiles, the reactors are destroyed, giving us a small amount of time to get off the ship and into the air. We hop into a Warthog and race to the rendezvous point, where Foheimer's supposed to pick us up like the end of many missions, but sadly, she's shot down. And all we can do is watch as our last ally goes down. That doesn't mean all hope is lost. There should be a smaller ship in the hangar we can use to get the hell out of here. The Warthog run continues as more of the ship falls apart. We are suddenly stopped by a barricade, meaning that we gotta hoof it for the rest of the way. It's close, but in the end, we make it. As Halo is destroyed, the chief asked if there was anyone else that made it off ring. But Cortana replies with a no. Nothing but dust and echoes. Chief sits knowing his journey, for now, is over, but he knows there's more to come.
Halo. It's finished.
No. I think we're just getting started.
That's the overall synopsis of the campaign story, and what I think about some of the levels in the game. While the story itself is rather simple and not as bombastic as later entries, it's not about that. It's about the journey you took to get there. The stellar gameplay is the main star, and the story is its co-star. The campaign may not be too deep, but man is it replayable, with 4 different difficulties and skull modifiers to make it harder in later releases, if that's your sort of thing. And I gotta say, a legendary playthrough is definitely worth it. It doesn't just change how hard the game is, either. Things such as enemy placements and the dialogue in certain cutscenes change too. Here, listen to these.
Men, keep your eyes downrange, fingers on your triggers, and we all go home in one piece. Am I right, Marines? Sir, yes, sir! Damn right I am. Now move it out! Double time! Man, we let those dumb bugs out to the middle of nowhere to keep them from getting their filthy claws on Earth. But we stumbled onto something they're so hot for that they're scrambling over each other to get it. Well, I don't care if it's God's own anti-son of a bitch machine or a giant hula hoop. We're not gonna let them have it. What we will let them have is a belly full of lead and a pool of their own blood to drown in. Am I right, Marines? Sir, yes, sir! Damn right I am. Now move it out! Double time!
You see? You even get a little bonus scene at the end if you finish the game on Legendary.
Come here, you mother... Oh, this is it, baby. Hold me.
Wow, Johnson's like really dead now, isn't he?
No.
But there's one thing that makes the journey better. Co-op. That's right, you can play the entire game with a friend. Hell, I even did half of a playthrough on Legendary with a buddy like a year ago, and posted some of the best moments. I wonder if I should bring back things with friends. But that's not all you can do, because there's an entire multiplayer mode with death matches and such to cover. One of the most influential things this game has to offer is its multiplayer mode. While dated today, back then this was the shit. Getting your friends to lug their Xboxes and TVs over just to have a massive LAN party sounds like an awesome experience to have. Sadly, I was born in the age of the internet, and I never really got that. Also, I didn't really have many friends growing up that actually played online games, so yeah. There are a variety of modes and maps to play on, such as BTB on Blood Gulch, Classic Slayer on Hang 'em High, and well, those are really the only modes that I play whenever I can get into a match, and here's why. While influential and important, the multiplayer is very unbalanced and dated today with a high skill curve. That whole master every weapon thing? Yeah, throw that shit out and use the Magnum or die. With the amount of tricks and exploits found over the years, it can be rather frustrating to play in this day and age. but we have to remember not only the time period this came out, but the fact that a very small team of people made this, as it wasn't even planned to ship with the original game, and I respect that they saddled up and finished it so it would. They knew it'd be big, and they were damn right. All in all, I don't have much to say about the multiplayer mode. It's really fun with friends, but not so much with randos. But it's still worth a mention, respect for what it did. If you can get into a match in this day and age, go play it. Halo Combat Evolved began so much for so many things. It began a wonderful franchise, console FPS games, social multiplayer for many, many people. While it isn't perfect and not my favorite in the series, it's by far the most important, maybe only tied with Halo 2. Without this game, we wouldn't have the many things that we do, and I adore it for that reason. This truly was the start of the golden age of Halo, and it's only gonna get better. Like Chief said at the end, we are just getting started. So I'm Ripley, signing off, and I'll see you next time whenever we cover everyone's favorite Halo game, Halo 2.